Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the World Championship Series America Challenger Day 2. We just saw Polt deliver a 3-0 of freedom to Jon Snow, and we'll relieve him from any watchful duties he may have for this season of the World Championship Series. We have another Terran versus Zerg coming up, though.
viOLet versus QXC. I'm very excited. These are some great players. viOLet, very strong Korean player. Another one of the Koreans that we have playing today. And then QXC, I'd say an American hero in a lot of ways.
Oh, yeah. American hero is the best way to describe QXC. In case you guys have missed any of the action, like we've been saying all week, disregard the schedule on the right. We are just flying through these games by the seat of our pants. We've had quite a few matches decided already, but viOLet and QXC, and then Hitman versus Xenocider will round out Challenger. The rest of the matches have been decided. We've had Masa, Jaedong, Neeb, Kane, and Polt so far qualify for Premier for Season 3. The last chance for any of these guys to play in WCS before the Global Finals, before we move on to 2016. Like in the last time viOLet played QXC in Challenger was, they actually played each other last season, I'm like 99% sure, and it was a pretty ugly stomp. And I'm hoping for something a bit different this time.
Absolutely. QXC lately has been playing very, very well. So I think that if he is going to play well, if he's going to beat viOLet, today is the day. That said, viOLet's been hanging out a lot with Masa. As we saw, he was playing the Red Bull Archon mode tournament, playing Terran, and he's also been known to play random on GM ladder.
Oh, yeah.
So,
yeah, I've lost to viOLet with him playing as Terran and Protoss. Obviously as Zerg as well. viOLet is really, really, really good at StarCraft in every possible way. And that's, you know, I'm looking to see if QXC is going to mix it up at all, if he's going to do anything interesting or unique, because viOLet crushed his face in during last season's Challenger. It was a 3-0. It was brutal. And let's see if we can, if history will repeat itself in this third best of 5 of the day. You're watching the World Championship Series. In the top left position, we have the Red Zerg player representing Team Envy. He is viOLet.
and in the bottom right, in the blue trunks, it is playing for Team Complexity, QXC. The Kamehameha Bandana Terran of awesomeness.
He has a lot of nicknames. The last one I remember was the Tiger Terran, because he bought a picture of a tiger off of a hobo at I Am New York. It was a great story. He was very proud of it.
I've never heard of that. Was it a good picture? Did you see it?
I don't know. It might have been just like printed out onto a regular piece of paper. But QXC is a very interesting man. He takes a very methodical approach to the game. Those of you who follow StarCraft closely have probably seen some of the articles that he's written. He's done a lot of video presentations, tutorials on different subjects within the StarCraft universe. When Davey has been making his posts about balance and whatnot and changes for StarCraft II and Legacy of the Void, QXC is one of those guys that's been pretty on top of getting his feedback out there for people to look at and evaluate, and he's always had very strong opinions about StarCraft, whereas viOLet just kind of has been doing his thing. He's been playing a fair amount of StarCraft. No big results, but, pretty consistent mainstay this year in the World Championship Series.
Well, so one thing that has me a little worried, Nathanius, is that QXC has been playing a lot of Legacy of the Void. He has been focusing a lot on, putting input into the game, helping make it a really good game, and so I worry that he may not have put a lot of, time into practicing, enough time anyway. He's going for a CC first. There's a drone there that's going to be really annoying and try to harass the SCV. But I will say this, when I saw viOLet in Toronto, he wasn't as swole as he normally is, so I'm thinking maybe,
he lost some of his gains,
yeah,
so you're like, oh, he must be playing more StarCraft.
Yeah, so that has me worried. It's like less gains, more drones, right?
I guess if you want to win cash money, though, this is WCS. This is the last season of the year. You're not going to get many more opportunities to get into any sort of leagues, to say the least, as the year ends. And this drone from viOLet, this very fast scout, quite annoying from our Zerg player.
Hell-bent on getting an SCV kill.
Yeah, these are the guys, when you play them on ladder, you're like super annoyed. It's like, just give up. You're not going to get a kill. Then they kill one of your workers, and you just...
Yeah, not fun to deal with that. He's coming back, bringing that drone, says, I see you, so QXC's repairing.
He's forcing QXC to spend minerals repairing that SCV. That delays every single thing that QXC could possibly want to do in this game.
Absolutely. It's from a player standpoint, it's extremely frustrating. You have to continue to focus on that, right, instead of thinking of getting from point A to point B in the early game. And then at the same time, it's just it might cost him a worker, it might cost him minerals to repair. So overall, not fun to deal with someone who can do really good work or harass. No,
not at all. QXC is now going to send his SCV out to scout. That drone is still active, still sharking around on the map. He'll be heading home reasonably soon, though. And then QXE did go for a fast command center, so it's not like it's the end of the world for him. He's going to have double Mule very quickly, double SCV production very quickly, and he immediately follows this up with a reactor and a factory. So we're going to see him go back into Hellions. QXE is someone who has been known, Lagan, to be a mecher.
Yeah, he could mech. This map is a little strange for mech, though. I mean, it's big, open spaces. There are a lot of chokes for siege tanks to do if you don't go out onto the open map. So if you really wanted to turtle up, this map allows it for a lot, at least until you get your 4th base. Once you get your 4th, that's quite exposed.
Yeah, you really have to spread yourself out in order to take additional expansions on this map. I wouldn't be surprised to see QXE open up a little bit more aggressively than Pull. You know, Banshee openings in each game would make a lot of sense. Or even just a big dedicated Hellbat push, because viOLet is not someone who generally plays standard Zerg, right? viOLet loves his Roach attacks. He loves Roaches. Roach Baneling, Roach Lingbane, but even then, 2-base Muta or 1-1 Roach timings. And those are all the builds, by the way, that he used to crush QXE last season. So QXE, has he made the adjustments necessary? Has viOLet made any adjustments that could throw QXE or, you know, mind game him? These are all the things we have to really keep an eye out for in this best of 5.
Yeah, we do see the lair on the way for viOLet, so that is going to open him up to that 2-base Muta play if that's what he wants to go for. QXE on the other side, he's pumping out the Hellions, and hopefully he gets aggressive enough to do some damage with them, at least get the map presence. This map, you know, possible for a run by if he doesn't have a wall.
Yeah, there's a lot of options though for viOLet because of the kind of strange player that he is with how aggressive he can get when this lair finishes. Could be that Spire, could also end up being something really crazy like a Nidus. Now, yeah, QXE runs 2 Hellions by him.
So he's going to get to see the lair. He's going to get to see that is happening. He might get a couple more Ling kills, maybe even a drone kill if he's lucky.
Yeah, seeing the lair finish is really nice. And even though the drones and the Lings are going to get the kill in this Hellion, that's still really useful information for QXE, because he's doing what he wants to do is a really big Banshee Hellbat push. That is what this setup is for. And knowing that there's a lair, knowing that it finished, means he knows he has about a minute, just over a minute, before he really has to worry about mutas. Because if he's not across the map by the time the Spire is already done, then the mutas will come out fast enough to shut down this attack.
Yeah, and if it gets shut down, that is pretty much going to be the end for QXE. There's no base behind this. This is pretty much an all-in.
Yeah, he doesn't have a 3rd command center. There's no engineering base, so he is super vulnerable to counterattack play if this attack does not buy him a lot of time and really deal some serious damage to viOLet. Now, the Hellions are out on the map. The Banshee, I believe, the first one should be over there too.
These Lings are going to get into the base now. They're going to start working at the SCVs. They get split up. Neither of them get stopped.
viOLet just picking up. You know, this kind of, it's already looking a little bit like their last time that they played. viOLet's just really outmaneuvering QXE and really abusing him.
Yeah, taking advantage of him. QXE hasn't been streaming though, so he's not a lot of material out there for viOLet to study, but again, static defense for Queens.
This defense is all he needs. This is actually phenomenal. He's going to lose a couple of these Queens, but the real big kicker here is that he still should have those mutas coming out very shortly. He has the Overseer here, so maybe he loses all of his Queens, but he can immediately get those mutas out and just counterattack, and QXE is pretty far away from having stim. He's very far away from having a good Marine count. The only thing he's managed to get himself in this game is a lot of Queen kills.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, he has a command center coming in. Now, he's finally remembered to keep his wall up, so those Lings aren't going to get in and do anything. A little bit of SCV repair, nothing to worry about, but his stim is only halfway done. He's just now getting an engineering bay. Where does QXE go from this? Where can he hope to pick something up, Nathanius?
What QXE really needs to do is, like, normally you want to try to like buy some time somehow, and we see, I think that's a Banshee that's about to get killed. So this Banshee is actually really nice because we see the Mutalisks have been kept on viOLet's side of the map. You want to buy as much time as possible, and I think that Banshee has just about done its job because QXE should be able to get these missile turrets up. Honestly, outside of that, QXE really needs to establish that 3rd base, and that's going to be very tricky for him to do because he built the command center so late. But also, getting his upgrades is going to be really tricky because the engineering bay is so late, and I think there's only one of them, too.
And Hydra is on his way already with +1 fire, +1 carapace, and ground attack. That is not a position that a Terran wants to be in. They don't want to be in a disparity economically or with upgrades against a Zerg.
No, this is pretty much viOLet's been in the driver's seat this game. He's getting his upgrades, everything together nicely. Even a late Baneling speed won't be that big of a deal because the Marines can't really leave the base for QXE. He constantly has to run around and try to deal with these mutas, and he doesn't want to stim either because he opened with these Vikings for zoning. Well, actually, this is quite nice. He manages to grab 3 of these Mutalisks. Yeah. I was going to say, you know, without having the medevac, you don't want to stim, but that one was definitely worth.
3 mutas, a few were weakened up. This Vikings doing a good job zoning them out, along with the missile turrets. He did help deny a little bit of that gas mining time and getting some weakened SCVs, but again, the Mutalisks are going to try to come back in and do a little damage. They might get one of these Vikings, but there we go. Another Mutalisk goes down.
Yeah, really good use of the Vikings, actually. viOLet's starting to slip up a little bit here as QXC pushes out, kills a few more Mutalisks, and a bit uncharacteristic of viOLet, as, you know, he has that third base. QXC still has yet to lift that command center off and get it over there. It's now making its way across, but, you know, if that command center isn't completely secure by the time that QXC wants to attack, then he's still vulnerable to counterattack play. And still, keep in mind, he only had one eBay this whole time.
Right, but that may have been the advantage that you were talking about, QXC needing to establish that third. With all those Mutalisks coming in, not getting any damage done, he's putting himself in a pretty good position.
Yeah, the Muta kills have definitely evened this game out. QXC can't be too bad himself. If those, you know, 6 or 7 Mutas were back on top of this army, then QXC has a real big problem on his hands. But right now, this is a manageable number for his reinforcements and his missile turret with repair to take care of.
Yeah, he has medvacs on the way, so the Marines are going to get healed up after all those early stims from the game. 2 Marines get picked off for free. Nothing too big from QXC in the losses department. He is getting ready to move out, though. He has 4 Widow Mines and a bunch of Marines and a medevac. What do you think he can do with this, Nate?
It's going to be really tricky because he's still so far away from actually hitting any of those bases. Normally, you want to deny the Zerg player's 4th, but viOLet is still in a spot where he's actually up a whole upgrade, because even though he hasn't started his 2-2 yet, QXC doesn't even have +1 armor. So these Widow Mines, these very few Widow Mines that he has, are like really the key to killing all these Banelings. Even off creep, viOLet's still willing to try to get a big fight, and the Widow Mines actually aren't doing anything at all. They're totally useless in this engagement.
They don't get to burrow. The Lings are pushing the Marines back there. The Banelings are threatening back there. This depot really isn't going to do anything. The Banelings can roll through and kill a bunch of SCVs, and that's exactly what's going to happen. 14, 15 SCVs go down.
Yeah, this is a really bad spot to be in for QXC. viOLet is still managing to make the most of this. Despite those Mutalisk losses earlier on, he's managed to take control of this third base, and that's all he wants to do. Pick up this third command center, use the Lings to push away the SCVs that want to repair it, use the Lings to push away the Marines that want to save it from those Mutas. And with that third command center, you're not winning a Terran versus Zerg.
Nope, not at all. I'm worried for QXC. Nathanius is viOLet has a 4th base coming down. 28 SCVs went down along with his 3rd base. QXC is definitely in a bad position, putting himself economically behind with the all-in he tried to go for in the beginning. He did take a small advantage, but I mean, those Widow Mines didn't even burrow. They didn't get a chance to take any hits.
Yeah, this is a very, very tough position for QXC to be in. He needs to push across the map, but he doesn't have that many forces to. This Thor gets caught out, doesn't kill a single Mutalisk. 2 medevacs take damage. GG is called. QXC's not even going to try from this point on, as he gives game number 1 to viOLet. I mean, biggest things, really. It was just sloppy play from QXC. You know, the Zerglings managed to run by the wall. They got, you know, the depot was lowered. They got in, killed a bunch of workers. That first drone managed to get a lot of damage done on the SCV, forced QXC to spend money repairing, which in turn delayed his barracks because he had to pull the SCV off of that, which in turn delays pretty much everything else because you need the barracks for the orbital commands and the factory and eventually that reactor. Like, nothing at all went in QXC's way. Like, his whole big Hellbat Banshee attack killed 3-4 queens. That was it.
Yeah, that was the biggest success he had from that build. And I wonder what was going through his mind. You saw the drone trying to get a little aggressive, and I wonder if QXC just got frustrated because you got to think that was cross spawns, a lot of distance. That's a lot of time for viOLet to prepare for a build like that.
And you know, you mentioned QXC playing a lot of Legacy of the Void. You usually don't have to worry about annoying drone scouts like that because your barracks is already done by the time it gets there. Not something that you can count on in Heart of the Swarm. I did not actually look at the map order. It's going to be Iron Fortress, just to go through everything with you guys. Iron Fortress was map number 1 that we just played. Then we're going to go Cactus Valley now for game 2. Following, we'll have Terraform for game 3. If we get to game 4, it will be Moonlight Madness. And if we get to game 5, we'll get to Dash and Terminal. So if this isn't a sweep, we're going to get to some of the weird maps.
Yep, yeah. Moonlight Madness, again, still waiting to see something crazy go on that map with the Terran and the Zerg.
Yeah, there's a lot you can do, especially someone like viOLet. You know, viOLet plays a lot of ladder games. He's a very creative guy, as we said. One advantage that you get when you play all 3 races is that you get into these scenarios where you also get to see what other crazy people do. Like, viOLet plays against lots of Terrans when he plays Zerg, obviously, but by playing Terran, viOLet gets to see what other Zerg players do against Terran on these maps, and it kind of, you know, it can give you ideas, and that's just one of the many uses of being, you know, a multi-racial player when it comes to StarCraft II.
Yeah, exactly. It gives you the perspective of the other races from the position of the race, so, you know, makes defending and attacking against those races much easier.
Yeah. And let's see now what is going to happen on Cactus Valley. As we said, this is map number 2. In the bottom left position, we have the Red Zerg player representing Team Envy. He is viOLet.
And in the top left position, playing for Team Complexity, it is QXE.
So now we have vertical spawns on a pretty big map. Usually cross heavily favors Zerg, but I still think that the lack of a ramp leading into the natural always makes this a pretty decent map for Zerg aggression, because you usually don't have to worry about having vision. Your roaches can usually hit without any link support from the bottom side, and that just opens up a whole lot of pain for QXE. If he tries to play greedily on this map, it opens up a lot of options for viOLet if he wants to go in with any type of big Baneling bust, Roach Baneling bust, Roach Ling Bane bust. And the only reason I say that is because, you know, viOLet is one of those guys who has a tendency to, when the opportunity arises, go for the crazy aggressive builds.
Yeah, absolutely. QXE, you know, that game, I wasn't expecting that kind of play from QXE. I was thinking we might get to like 3-base macro play. Didn't expect that.
Yeah, he just kind of died, really, once viOLet got that big swell of links after he saturated his third base. Saturating the third base was basically like when the bell started to toll for QXE.
Yeah, QXE, I like that he is aggressive. That's one of my favorite things about QXE. He does do a lot of awesome, cool kind of aggression in all the matchup, really. TVT, TVP, TVZ, and I'm hoping that this time we get a chance to see that from QXE's side. We get to see viOLet being the defensive one.
Yeah, it's really interesting when you think about it relative to QXE's career, you know, where he stands right now in StarCraft II compared to a lot of the other non-Korean players. You have guys like Huck that have started to do more non-pro gaming type stuff like commentary or analysis. And you have guys like, you know, Kane, who did a bit of analysis and commentary. Guys like Pig, you know, a lot of these guys that were considered top tier in their regions. You know, even, you know, Litdud and Rhett and all those boys have all been kind of working around in a lot of different spaces. QXE remains primarily a pro player, but he doesn't have the, you know, he, much like those guys, he hasn't been able to put up the results lately. This is a really important challenger match for him because, you know, it's like he's fizzled out so much that he really needs this spark to get himself back on a path of being a top non-Korean player.
Yeah, I think Legacy of the Void is definitely going to be an opportunity for a lot of these players that have been in the position like QXE to come back, and I think that that is why QXE is probably focusing so much on it. So I hope that, you know, through the rest of this series, we're not going to see that impact his gameplay too much. I do also consider QXE one of the more, you know, professionals of the professional gamers, right? So,
yeah,
you know, he does take this very seriously. He hasn't taken this as just, oh, well, I happen to be in WCS, so let's play, right? I think he's here to definitely put in his all.
Yeah, once again, QXE does this very interesting opening of a gas, by the way, before his barracks. Out of the command center first, the only reason that you do it is just to get a really, really, really fast factory. To get mostly just faster Hellions, which can lead into stuff like faster Banshees, either faster Armory, faster Banshee, Hellion push. It's not a bad strategy to do, as long as your opponent doesn't early pull, and, you know, this isn't ladder. He's not playing versus like some random wizard who just knows where he spawns after 10 pulling, so QXE very safely does that command center first into gas. So he just gets a bit earlier Hellions than viOLet might expect this game.
Yeah, and this is a map you can definitely do safe. CC first, right? That bunker and 2 depots are going to be just enough to wall off. Not worry about any kind of run-bys or anything like that.
It's the easiest. It's one of the easiest maps to wall off. I mean, I guess Bridgehead is, you only need, like, you could wall it off with like 1 depot and a bunker. But you also have that second opening, whereas Cactus Valley, this is it. This is the only way in.
Yeah. Now, one scary thing, though, is this kind of, you know, works in the favor of both races, right? On the other side of the map. Here we go. A couple lanes going to run by. They're going to get a few SCV kills, actually. A few more coming in behind it. That bunker not doing enough. The lane's getting, SCV's getting pulled back by the bunker, and 2 have gone down, and they're going to be the Hellions to clean this up.
Yeah, viOLet's still being able to make opportunities to make things happen, even though we talked about how easy it is to wall that off. That second depot just, it wasn't there. So QXE, he spent his money getting those Hellions out early on, and he pays for it with a couple of worker losses, and that's quite nice for viOLet. Like, we're still at that point where the worker count for both players is low enough, you know, 36 to 27, that, you know, being at 30 versus 35 would be a lot nicer.
Yeah, so there's that choke as well. We were talking about how easy it is to wall off. It's the same thing for the Zerg, right? So if viOLet wanted to, he could make it very hard for QXE to come into his base. QXE moving out on the map with these Hellions. Few Lings getting roasted, but overall QXE can't really do too much.
No, his options are pretty limited at the moment. He could try to run these Hellions by. It's pretty risky, but I guess there's some of those of the Zerglings are out on the map, so this is an opportunity for him to really take command, take charge in this series as he runs up, gets a few drones, just 3 now, going up 7 drones, actually not so bad. I mean, you lose your Hellions, right? But there's no Baneling Nest, which means QXC actually has absolutely nothing to worry about. You know, if you're playing against someone like Life, or let's take it one step further. If you're going to go back to the last series, where Jon Snow set himself up, or even Jaedong in his games yesterday versus Semper, every game Jaedong had that Baneling Nest early, and it didn't need to use it most of the time, but you have that opportunity to just go build a bunch of Banelings and counterattack. And we saw Jon Snow do that to great effect against Pult in their first game of Moonlight Madness. Yeah,
and QXC does pick off a worker with this Banshee, but there is an Overseer and there are the Queens back home. So despite not having any kind of Spore Crawlers, he's pretty well defended. He's going to pull the Banshee back, save it for later. The Spire is halfway done, and then we'll have the Mutalisk, and the Banshee will be completely shut down, unable to do anything on the back. And QXC is getting another Command Center, and Stim nearing halfway finished. QXC going to go to that late game. He's going to go towards probably Widowmine production soon. Thor's eventually. He's working on his upgrades, getting his 2 engineering bays done, and that'll start pumping out the Terran upgrades. Evolution Chamber just getting started for viOLet, so QXC is going to be able to take an upgrade lead.
Yeah, it won't be anything significant though. I mean, he only has 1 of his E-bays done, and he hasn't started upgrading on it just yet. We'll have to see what he can really do with the forces that he has it on the map, because even though that Spire is ready, we don't have the Mutalisks being made yet for viOLet. Just now 5 are on the way. There's still some room for this Banshee to actually get some work done.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit of time before those pop out. The Queen is there, and that Banshee does have a lot of energy, though, so it can cloak for quite some time.
Yeah, but he didn't research cloak, though, and that makes it a little bit trickier for him. Even with all that energy, you know, that one Overseer, it's like the bully, you know, that Overseer is in between all 3 bases, just ready to jump at a moment's notice. But now the Mutalisks are coming out, and this is going to complicate things, because QXC, that 3rd base is a little bit outstretched, so if he goes over to defend that 3rd base and try to take it, you know, against the creep, he opens up himself to being hit in the main by the Mutalisks, and even if it's not his main base mineral line, those add-ons, those very juicy add-ons, are all exposed too.
Yeah, that Pult Viking not getting a chance to do too much damage, as it takes out 1 Overlord, but then we're going to have the Mutas that are going to take it out, and that is the end of the Viking. The 3rd base not going to get to go down right away because there was creep being dropped.
Really like that turret by the factory. It helps to cement this so much, but even still, viOLet making something of this by being able to delay that barracks and possibly come in and delay that add-on later on. Delaying this gas is still really nice. He may force SCVs to come repair it. Every little bit that that QXC has to do in order to take his base is just better and better for him.
Yeah, good control from viOLet. Not unlike last game, he didn't lose a single Mutalisk to that. A few Marines getting close. He pulled 1 back before it would have taken the final hit from the turret. So we're seeing a lot of good stuff from viOLet in this game. Both players not in an extreme advantage, but here we go. A few SCVs going down, 3 going down.
It's really nice.
4. Yep. The turret is still not finished, and the Mutalisks are doing the dance of doom that Terrans don't like to see, that when the Mutalisks pulling you back and forth, keeping you on your toes.
Yeah, you know, this isn't Terran versus Protoss. There's no feedback to worry about. You want as much energy as you can possibly get on those medevacs to keep healing your forces. So even those little stims that keep getting forced out are going to reduce the, you know, the longevity, the healing power of those medevacs if QXC pushes out soon.
Yeah, QXC sitting on the edge of creep. He sees where these units are going. He sees that the Mutalisks are there. The Mutalisks are going to try to probably clean up these Hellbats. Actually, no, they pull back. On the other side of the base, we do have the 3rd getting pretty well fortified. Depots coming down to prevent run-bys, barracks in the bunker.
Yeah, there's nothing really crazy happening just yet. I mean, viOLet's creep spread is getting out of control, though. I will say that. QXC is going to have a really hard time moving out on the map once he decides to. And look at this. viOLet's just like, it's almost like he's just toying with him. Like, he flies and he's like, oh, a couple Hellions, bing, bada bing, bada boom, take those out. And now he's trying to pull QXC around. Look at this. It's going to go for a bit of a backstab, run these Banelings, bust down the natural opening, and then go for a strike into the heart of the natural. And oh, goodness, look at, he's like, as soon as he sees him push into the creep, he knows he can make this attack.
Yeah, QXC has to know there's some aggression coming. That 3rd base was completely saturated gas and minerals, so this is all time to build.
Yeah, look at this. The Lings actually get by. He didn't even lower the depot. So he moves in, surrounds the bunker with the Lings, and the Banelings run towards the SCV line, picking out the missile turret. Actually not killing too many SCVs with the Banelings themselves, but now the Mutalisks can come in and mop up.
Yep, absolutely free reign without the turret there. They're going to get a lot of damage done. Taking out one of the geysers. 11 SCVs went down. Yeah, the Marines are going to push these away, but, you know, after a bunch of damage has already been done.
And you know what else it does? It stops them from attacking, right? Because now all this bunker This bunker, the Banelings are trying to get it on top of this worker line. Not really hitting too much, but they could get big SCV hits now. Moving even forward even more. Okay, just a few more. So not big hits on those workers, but still killing a lot. And QXC, he has had no chance to actually step out on this map and try to put on any pressure to viOLet.
No kind of counter damage. He's now down 14 workers after losing those 15. And viOLet is in a great position.
The only thing I want to see viOLet do is start his 2-2. Like right now, he's even on upgrades, but QXC is going to be able to take some momentum soon. And he does have this dropout here. He has one Marine attacking that 4th base, and at the same time, he's starting to clear out the creep. So QXC is ready to make some plays. viOLet needs to be ready to do something back to him.
Yeah, he needs to get moving now, though, because that creep spread is, as you were pointing out earlier, definitely encroaching on QXC, getting closer and closer to his base. This is going to make it hard to move out. We see QXC out on the creep. He tries to move out with Mulus, and there's a Widowmine. Does get a nice splash. Kills a bunch of Banelings and Lings.
That was actually a really nice Widowmine shot, but the medevac's still being killed. viOLet trying to push all the way back to QXC's 3rd base. There's no bunker here, so really has to be careful. The Widowmine is not going to get a chance to burrow either. SCVs are forced to run away too.
Yeah, QXC losing a lot to these Mulus, so Lings getting cleaned up, but there's still the Mutas. Now there are enough Marines to push back the Mulus, but look, there are still Zerglings.
Yeah, this is actually really nice. The Zerglings to help reinforce, help defend the Mutalisks from being picked off by those Marines. 7 Mutas have died so far in this game. Not a crazy number considering the amount of damage that they've done, but that 4th base actually got denied. That was the Banshee actually from earlier on.
Yeah, so that Banshee being put to good use this late in the game, that's pretty awesome.
I was going to say, yeah, it usually does not happen. Banshee's usually pretty useless once the first Mutas are out on the field, but he stayed just out of everybody's way long enough that no one noticed. Yeah,
2-2 is done for QXC, so this is definitely a help. There are a lot of Banelings here, though. QXC trying to split against them. Reinforcements coming in for QXC, and all that bio is getting roasted, but it looks like a good position. A good Widowmine hit could take out those Banelings.
That 2-2, man, really paying big dividends now for QXC as viOLet down a whole 2 upgrades in that armor, in that care, in that melee upgrade. Makes things really tough for him, and that Banshee actually eventually just flies into her own doom. So viOLet really needs to reestablish that 4th base. QXC is just going to start to pile on the momentum now. From this point onward, QXC should be taking favorable engagements. Unless he makes some really huge micromanagement mistakes, I think QXC should be more than fine. These Mutas, though, are what viOLet's going to try to use to keep him in this game.
Yeah, and the Mutalisk not getting anything really done there. QXC moving out onto the map.
I talked about him only losing 7 Mutas earlier on. Now he's lost 16 Mutalisks. QXC's really been able to thin that Muta count out.
Yeah, so QXC, he's trying to get what he can done. He still needs to push back the creep that's still sitting on the edge of his 3rd base. But despite hemorrhaging all those workers, they're equal in worker count, 64 to 64, and army supply is actually in favor of QXC.
Yeah, being even on workers is always going to favor the Terran player just because you have mules, right? So with that extra income, and also the fact that you rely on the minerals so much more than the Zerg player does because the Marines are everything in your army composition, he's got to be feeling good. QXC starts up a 4th command center. That 3-3 is halfway done. viOLet has still not started 2-2. I think if QXC finishes 3-3 against a 2-2 viOLet, he's got this game in the bag.
Yeah, definitely. He's in the back now. He is doing a little bit of distraction. This medevac might go down to the Mulus. Probably is going to as the boost is going to run out. But he's keeping viOLet on the back foot. He's keeping the Mulus back home and allowing him to get pushed onto the creep. And here he goes. He's going to spread the Widowmines. He's going to start scanning, killing the tumors. And this is going to be a great position for QXC. A few Banelings rolling in. Widowmines doing their job.
Yep. viOLet's going to try to overwhelm this army and push it off of his front door once again. Baits out all the Widowmine shots. Actually, really nice play there. There's still another mine in the back, and there's that Thor to push away the Mutalisks. Need to be very mindful of that Thor. There's no upgrades for it, but still a tough spot to be in. viOLet does now have that mining base on his 4th, and he's going to try to push it out of this army.
Oh, and a huge hit from the Banelings, or the Widowmine on the Banelings. The Marines splitting back. The Thor has gone down. There's some bio units here taking some pretty decent engagements against the Banelings, but there are the Mutalisks.
Yeah, viOLet is building a lot of momentum with these Mutalisks. If he can push this bunker down, if he can get on top of this economy, there's 3 barracks here that are producing, and without those, he won't have the infrastructure that he needs to actually build the army. viOLet has managed to take the engagement he needs to get a big win here, and I mean, still bleeding out a lot of those Mutalisks, but he's okay for the moment.
Yeah, softening him up for that Thor, though, as the reinforcements are streaming in for QXC. Hopefully he'll be able to come back. But right now, there are Zerglings taking out these building, and on the other side of the map, actually,
okay,
QXC doing some damage.
Yeah, I like this, dropping that base, but he takes out the bunker. This is really important. This prevents those SCVs from being able to help defend the line. And with the Banelings being canceled, okay, so QXC buys himself a little bit more time. I do think it's a really big deal that he's actually going to be able to kill this 4th base. viOLet, if he was able to hold on to that, he would be in a game-winning position right now.
Yeah. QXC is establishing actually his own fourth line. I think once he gets some turrets back up, a little more static defense, he's not in a bad position. He's still only down 10 workers. Army is even. And as long as he doesn't take any really, really horrible engagements against Banelings, I like QXC's position right now.
Yeah, well, he has the +3 upgrades, right? That's what we were talking about. He is 3-3 against 1-1. That is absolutely massive. viOLet's only way that he can win this game is by just having an overwhelming number of Banelings and getting the wraparound on this army. Just now, viOLet starts 2-2. He has realized that this game is slipping out of his hands. Despite all the nice moves he's made, despite all the engagements he's taken, he is against a 4-base Terran player with 3-3 upgrades. Those pushes onto that third like that are great. But you lose those expensive units, you lose those Banelings and those Mutas, you need to pick up more than just some SCV kills for it.
Yeah, nice pickup here for viOLet is he's going to get this medevac.
Yeah, it's actually quite nice. These Mutas can continue to chase a little bit further, but you pick off the medevacs, get those Marines. You could go for the missile turrets. I really think a big focus for viOLet, if he can, is try to get on top of these add-ons, and I do like that he actually moves in on it. It's a really, really nice grab to be able to get using the Glaive Worm balance as well to help seal the deal on the death of that reactor, cutting down the Marine production substantially, even getting the missile turret. He wants to force him to build more defensive structures that he doesn't want to build.
Smart QXC burying Widow Mines behind that barracks, and then he's going to build missile turrets. So the Mutas try to think, okay, we're just going to come in and tank the turrets. Those Widow Mines are going to give them a bad day.
Yeah, I think he should actually move the Marines away too. Just bait him super hard.
Yep, and it looks like that might be what happens here. They come, the Overseer's there, but they're not hitting. Oh, Widow Mine hits the Overseer.
Overseer, really nice bait, actually. Counter bait with the Overseer.
Yeah, a few Mutalisks dying, but still a lot of damage being done. QXC wanted to move out onto the map, but the Mutalisks were just too much for him. He had to pull back.
And phenomenal defense of this fourth base by viOLet. Already a couple Lings and Banelings prepared to shut down that Marine attack. And viOLet's getting closer and closer to that 2-2. You know what? Lots of Zerg players have won with 2-2 against 3-3. He's managed to put on just enough pressure with these Mutalisks to prevent QXC from taking an engagement, a full-on, full-fledged fight with that upgrade advantage, and that's just the mark of a really good player. viOLet's showing why he's been a mainstay and premier for the World Championship Series for so long.
Exactly. viOLet sees what he's vulnerable to, sees what QXC is going for, and does whatever he can to prevent QXC from doing that. So despite all those drops, taking out those bases, viOLet still seems to be one step ahead of our Terran player.
And there's still a lot of creep spread for him to work with, too. I mean, hemorrhaging out quite a few Lings, as you've said earlier, against these Widow Mines, but actually a lot of them dying to these Widow Mines. He just needs to avoid... I mean, I feel like fighting off creep is probably the only way that viOLet could really lose these engagements because he has so much to fall back on, but he kills a ton of the Marines. The Thors are still standing, though, and he lost all of his Mutas.
QXC, GG. That was actually an excellent engagement from QXC.
I'm not really sure I understand why viOLet made that push.
I was worried for a second. I thought that QXC's SimCity was going to work against him and the Marines couldn't move past the Thor and the depots, but then all the Banelings just crashed into the Thor Marauders.
I actually have no idea what just happened.
No, that was a Q.
viOLet had 2,000 minerals in the bank and 1,000 gas. I feel like I feel like he could have just tried to take another base and just wait for a push. I feel like you should always, if you can, wait for the Terran to push onto Crete, but...
Yeah, no, he took engagement and it didn't work out.
That was just kind of like, hey, you've got this nice siege defense with choke points and Thors up front. I'm just going to run my whole army into it off creep.
Yeah, the upgrades obviously showing that work in the favor of QXC, those upgraded Marauders.
Yeah, that was just really weird.
Yeah.
That was really weird. Map number 3 is going to be Terraform. So viOLet evens out the series by kind of just throwing his whole army into QXC. QXC needed that quite badly. Especially considering that, viOLet had just been able... that actually happened right before the 2-2 finished as well, I think.
Yeah, it did.
He threw away his whole army and all of his Mutalisks right before his +2 upgrades. It's a bit,
there's a part of me that wants to throw some sort of thought into what the logic might have been behind that, but really I can't.
It's hard. I guess viOLet probably... Maybe after all cleaning up the drops and killing the add-ons, he thought that QXC would have a lot more of his forces in his main base. I'm not sure... But he lost also 30 Lings, 40 Zerglings to those 2 Widow Mines that he baited as well. So things just got really sloppy from viOLet actually at the end there. I don't know what to say honestly about that. But the series is now tied 1-1. So QXC gets a breath of fresh life breathed in this series. He's probably scratching his head. He's very relieved at how that just played out because really he was boxed into his own base. At some point, if viOLet hadn't made that maneuver, QXC would have had to push out across creep. And no Terran player wants to be out on creep in the center of the map when the Zerg player is, dominating with so many forces.
I think that the had QXC not been doing all that drop play, had QXC not kept viOLet on the back, or at least taken out the economy, I think despite throwing all that away, viOLet would have been fine because he would have just kept expanding, would have had the resources to just remax right after that.
Yeah, and I still think that viOLet did a really good job because when QXC was at 3-3 versus 1-1, viOLet he would have lost that straight up fight. Like he would have lost it as badly as he ended up losing it, but I mean his 2-2 was close to finishing by then. But viOLet was able to buy time to prevent that fight from happening. It's just weird that he bought time to stop that fight and then forced it himself.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a head scratcher.
Yeah, just a little bit, but we're moving into the next game. This one is going to be on Terraform. This is, again, a map that's pretty exciting. We've seen a lot of good TVZs on this map, and I think that QXC and viOLet are players that are going to do a pretty good performance on this map.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see Terran versus Zerg on this map. There are so many good aggressive builds that you can do for both sides. We have in the top left position, currently tied 1-1 in this best of 5, representing Complexity. He's QXC.
And on the bottom right, just dropped a map to the Terran player in the red. It is Envy's viOLet.
I still can't think of a reason why he would take that fight. It's pretty weird, to be honest. It's like, I don't know. I don't want to harp on it too much. It's just uncharacteristic. You know, viOLet has such a history in StarCraft, being that guy that's come out. One of the first Korean players to really come out and just play in so many tournaments outside of Korea. You know, moving to the United States, getting actually one of the first ever competitive esport athlete visas, and that's what's allowed him to come out here and play. You know, play with the big boys. And usually he's just giving me such a good impression of him that's kind of why I was so surprised. I'm like, well, it doesn't make moves like that. That was a bit silly.
Yeah, it was a bit strange, but you know, live and learn. I don't think viOLet's going to make that mistake again in this series.
No, for sure not. But whoa, he's doing something else that's weird. That was a 13 pool.
Yeah, that was a pretty fast pool.
So I don't see QXC as much of a cheeser, to be honest. I'm wondering if viOLet had ulterior motives. He didn't take gas. This is like that fire cake build, I think, where you just rush out a really fast queen and you don't build any Zerglings at all. Or he builds 6 Zerglings really fast and tries to get it canceled in the command center.
That could be it. He's going down for the expansion, so a queen could be the follow-up as soon as that pool is built. But QXC just going for a Reaper.
Yeah, and the Reaper is super standard. This makes a lot of sense. This is normal. Firecake was the first Zerg player I actually saw to do this quite a bit, where they would just do this and get a fast queen. But instead, it is just fast 6 lings. So what viOLet wants to do is run these lings around the map, wait for the Reaper to leave the natural, and then as soon as that Reaper moves out, step in with the lings, force the cancel on the command center. And if you can do that as a Zerg player, that's about as close to a free win as you're going to get in Zerg versus Terran, because the Terran player will take forever to recover from that loss.
Absolutely horrible to deal with when you get that expansion canceled. Hopefully for QXC's stake, he decides to build that on the high ground. The Reaper is now going out.
Oh, second Reaper. Really, really important to note, too.
Yeah, so QXC, he's pretty good with his Reaper control. And it'll be excellent for the defense, as long, again, as he doesn't put that command center on the low ground.
Yeah, if the command center gets put on the low ground, the second Reaper can still save it, but QXC will need to be very, very cautious because these lings could still wait for the second Reaper to leave, too.
Oh, and there it is. It is going to be on the low ground. The lings are in a great position. The Overlord has an idea of what is going on.
Okay, QXC saw the queen, though, in the main base. If you see that queen being done so early, you have to ask yourself, you're like, there's no way that this is happening like this. Oh my god, he surrounds Reaper anyway!
Oh, that is horrible. QXC loses the Reaper. That is integral to the defense of this.
Oh, no, that's really bad. Okay, QXC's going to have to cancel this natural. Oh my goodness, he canceled it. That was absolutely insane. I can't.
Right, so he was focusing on the Reaper that was across the map, and it just got surrounded by the Zerglings. There's nothing he could have done. So these are slow Zerglings. The Reaper can, deal with these just fine, but I mean, he had to cancel. He lost a Reaper. This is a bad position to be if you're QXC.
Yeah, now he has these Reapers that also can't really do too much. Like, yeah, cleaning up these lings. These lings, they did their dirty work. They did their dirty work they did everything that they needed to do in this game, and now viOLet can just happily drone up his 2 already existing bases. Yeah,
viOLet's making a memorial to these lings. They were good. They gave their life for a good cause, and he's now getting the extra gas.
Yeah, they did everything that they needed to do. Yep. It was really, really good. And from this point onward, the Reapers can try to harass. Maybe he throws them away, but his follow-up is just a standard 3 command center build, which means that he's just going to have to play from behind. He does get a starport, but he just has 1 gas, so his aggressive opportunities are very limited, especially considering that he hasn't started building Hellions yet.
Yeah, so without the Hellions, he isn't going to have the map presence. He isn't going to have the map vision. Nothing is really going to be done. He's not going to be able to force any kind of units. So viOLet on his end, he gets to play it however he wants. Does he get to play? Is he going to play economic? Is he going to go for some type of 2-base aggression?
Yeah, that's going to be a really important thing to keep in mind because viOLet is someone who's known for doing aggressive pushes off 2 bases. QXC, we've already seen the aggression out of him. The Reapers are going to shark around on the edge of the creep, but I mean, viOLet's got to be happy. Denying the creep tumors is always nice, but there's that Roach Warren. This is where viOLet can start to bring in his own crazy madness.
Absolutely. We do see Hellions coming down, and I think the time is slowly passing for the Hellions. We do have a couple, but once those Roaches get out, those aren't going to do anything. They will, though, give him a nice advanced warning of a Roach attack. And, I mean, when he goes into poke at the front, he's going to see the Roach Warren, right? He does have a Banshee. Banshee is very good against Roach.
Yeah. Banshees are always a great way to deal with this, but look at this. It's a really fast Carapace opening, and viOLet has actually done this build many a time. I think continuing to pump out Banshees will be the key to success here for QXC. The Banshees, of course, are mainstays in these scenarios where you don't have to worry so much about getting hit with anti-air. But even these couple of these Zerglings somehow managed to get back into QXC's base.
Yep, nope. He has nothing really to defend at home. He's going to see that the Banshees are there.
The OG Ling hit squad that canceled the natural.
Yeah, it came back, wanted more, wasn't happy. It's already taken down 3 workers. Yeah. He's going to get at least another.
I would say this has been a successful volume 2 for viOLet's Lings.
Yep, good micro from QXC, not losing any more than he has to. 4 SCVs do go down, and the Banshees are out. Now, viOLet is aware of the Banshees, so I wonder how much is he going to commit to Roaches once he sees the violets are in production.
I'm assuming that he's looking at this like it's a Zerg versus Zerg. He's saying, okay, your Banshees, obviously my Roaches can't spit up, but if I build enough Roaches and your Banshees are on my side of the map trying to harass me, trying to put pressure on me, then my Roaches can still just run across the map. It's not like you have anything else that's going to kill them. And to be fair, QXC only built 1 Banshee.
Yeah, so 1 Banshee isn't going to be a lot to do. He is building a second, though. Stim is on the way, not near done, though. There are more bunkers coming down, so QXC is definitely taking this seriously.
Second Banshee's a bit late, though. I still think that viOLet has a big opportunity to push out with Roach speed, and I actually kind of hope he goes for it, because neither of these Banshees are close enough to the main base that they're going to, I think, be integral in the defense, especially if QXC loses any Banshees. That's absolutely devastating.
Yeah, 17 Roaches now on the map, 4 more on the way. Carapace is done. He has started Marauder production. Marines are coming out. But still, like you pointed out, there is not a lot for QXC. What is he going to do? He does see that the Roaches are moving out. He's trying to get a little bit of softened up damage. There's no Siege Tank. There are no Widow Mines. Can QXC hold this off?
He's starting to build some Bioforces, but that's just 1 bunker. Another Banshee is out.
No, I see QXC bleeding out a lot of workers. He just pulls them down, focusing down the bunker, and it is going to go down, and now Roaches are going to kill workers.
Yeah, I mean, he wants to get the Roaches on top of the Marauder. The Marauder is the key, the one that's going to hold this all together, the keystone here in this scenario. But still, tons of SCVs will fall, and this is the cost of being able to defend pushes like this. QXC got slowed down so much from the start of this game, loses all the SCVs that were here defending, loses all of the Bioforces, all of his Hellions, everything. GG is called, and viOLet takes game number 3.
Yeah, viOLet, I think he saw game number 2, wasn't happy with it, so he went for something aggressive, put himself in a good position, and I think he's happy with that victory.
Yeah, that was perfect, really. You think about, you go into the game with a plan, you're like, okay, I'm going to open up 13 supply spawning pool, and yeah, it was a 13 supply spawning pool, just double check. You run those 6 Lings around. Ideally, the Terran player builds 1 Reaper, and then you get in and you cancel the command center, you're like, well, that was great. But you would think, as a Terran player, from my perspective, when you open up with multiple Reapers, one of the reasons why you do that is so that builds like that don't kill you.
Exactly. In QXC, he allowed the 1 Reaper. He was distracted, didn't see it. The Reaper gets surrounded and doesn't have the defense for it anymore.
The Reaper getting surrounded, that's like... Oh, that's a really rough spot to be in, because you have to imagine, like, he was probably, at the time that Reaper got surrounded, I imagine, like, from a player perspective, he was microing his Reaper. He went into the ramp, and he's like, oh, I see a queen. And then as soon as he saw the queen, he's like, wait, this queen seems fast. And then he sees the alert on his mini-map, and he looks, and he's like, oh, no, my Reaper's run. And then it's like, at that point, it's too late.
The Reaper was rallied right into that pack of Lings. They just happened to be the perfect position, so there really was no time for QXC to react.
Yeah, by the time QXC realized what was happening, it was already too late. So viOLet now, 2-1 up in this best of 5, is just 1 map away from moving on to Premier once again.
Now my question is, Nate, did QXC play too greedy? After that happened, should he have, once he saw the the Roach-Horn, should he have canceled that third and gone for more units?
No, I don't think so. I think for QXC, he had a period where he delayed his Banshee production to get his barracks up. I think he should have built a third Banshee. He could have had, I think, 3 Banshees with a 4th one halfway done against viOLet. If you see that your opponent, because he had the Reaper, he had the first Banshee, he should have been able to see that there was no Spire. And if there's no Spire, there is no reason to stop building Banshees. You do not need the Medivacs as badly as you need to have that, because Stim isn't going to research in time if you open up with the factory anyway.
Right.
So, in my opinion, and I don't consider myself better than QXC, but I think if he, and it also could have come down to maybe he didn't see the back of the natural. It's possible that QXC thought there was a Spire on the way. And in that case, I totally understand why you would stop building Banshees. But from being able to see the full map, I would say that if he had just made non-stop Banshees, an extra Banshee and having them all there, or like hitting the roaches as they cross the map, would have done a lot more for him than, starting up the extra barracks faster, because he didn't have enough bio units from them anyway.
Yeah, he was going to lose workers no matter what. Even if he had pulled...
Yeah, he also could have added more bunkers too.
Yes, he could have added more bunkers. He could have pulled those workers a little sooner. He did see them on the way. I think that would have helped a lot. It would have let him put the Marauder inside the bunker, and that Marauder could have gone to work. No matter what, he was going to lose a bunch of workers, but it wouldn't have been the 26 that ended the game.
If you have 3 command centers, losing SCVs is rarely something that you're concerned about. All that matters is that you have something you can counterattack with. But if you lose everything like QXC did, there's already Spores, there's already Queens, there's already Overseers. The Banshees aren't going to win in the game. He needed like 2 Marauders and 10 Marines at the end of that with like a Medivac or 2 to be able to just boost across and just force out more roaches. Because the idea for the Zerg player is that you're building drones during all that, which viOLet was doing because he's a smart guy. He's pretty good at this game. And yeah, it just comes down to a lot of stuff that went wrong for QXC. Yeah. I think if you take an early loss like that, being super greedy is okay because you're already behind. So if you just play straight up, you shouldn't be able to win. You have to do something to equalize it, whether it's going for some sort of crazy cheese or being really greedy. So I can't fault him in either scenario for that.
Not at all.
All right, well, the next map is going to be Moonlight Madness. viOLet needs to win this map, and he will be in Premier League. This guy needs to win the next 2 in the bottom left position, representing Team Complexity. He's the Blue Terran player. He's QXC.
Into the top right, 1 game away from Premier. It is Team Envy's viOLet.
And I'm curious if viOLet has any weird sort of shenanigans planned for this map, as he is the kind of guy to do stuff like that. He has not started an Overlord. Maybe he's going to Extractor Trick this game. I don't think it's going to be anything super crazy. Yeah, just an Extractor Trick. I was kind of worried. I was like, is he actually just going to go like 10 pool, something really weird? But he does have... Yeah, actually, yeah, there's the Extractor. Okay, so viOLet not doing anything weird. QXC is going to wall off at the front. Makes a lot of sense. I would like to see QXC open up with... I guess I like Reaper on every map. This map in particular doesn't have the greatest Reaper access. I think Reaper is always good. But on Moonlight Madness, there's actually not that many places that your Reaper can jump around. If you want to go into the front, like you have the normal front, right, by the main ramp where QXC's barracks is. Like that's the same on the Zerg side of the map, but it's not that wide of an area. The only other place you can jump up to go in from behind is actually at the corner of the map. It's like all the way at the corner. So like, if you wanted to go in, he'd have to be the very, very top. The very like top left of the map is the only place he can actually jump down behind where those rocks are, because there's no other way to bypass it. So QXC would have to go all the way around the top left side of the map to run around with that Reaper in the front, and that means that viOLet really needs to just focus his attention on this area that we're looking at here, the front of his main.
Right.
So Reaper aggression, not crazy, but still, I think a Reaper scout is always smart.
Absolutely. Looking at this, we'll talk about what we're going to expect from these players, right? viOLet, of all the Zergs we've seen, I think viOLet's the one that's going to do something strange. I think if we saw Bridgehead, maybe viOLet would be the one to abuse those back rocks. So we have more of those abusable rocks in this position. I think there are a lot of advantages he can take. At the same time, I think QXC is the kind of person that would definitely take advantage of that little ledge up in the Zerg's base where he could deny some gas with the tank drop. Now, maybe I'm just repeating that because I'm very wishful, and I'd like to see that in North American StarCraft as we've seen it in Korean StarCraft. But I think that if we were going to get some weird plays out of these players today, it's these guys.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, and, as you do more commentary like, and you join us in sharing those thoughts of just praying for the weirdest stuff to happen, because it is very exciting to watch when we see these strategies, and that's why I like these maps, because we generally see people do a lot cooler things, whether it's in aggressive manners or weird, greedy manners. I mean, you know, for for goodness sake, this map has brought out more Proxy Tempests in 1 month of StarCraft than Roddy's entire streaming career.
Yeah, let's hope Hitman, the next series, is taking a leaf out of Roddy's book, and maybe we'll get to see a bit of that.
I would love to see that. You know, I have played enough games versus Hitman where he never leaves one base to know that that is certainly possible.
All right, well, we see QXC in here being a little annoying with the Reaper, you know, just standard stuff, nothing crazy going on. Softening up those lings, softening up a few drones, and on the back end, he is actually building another Reaper. So he's got 2 on the already on the field, and Queen's coming down to defend. He's got one that's kind of low, so he doesn't want to lose it, pulling back. Very smart.
You know, viOLet, even though he opened up with that gas, he's still not yet started any ling speed. That really makes me happy for QXC to go for this 3 Reaper play, because he can stay out on the map forever. And if he saw that that spawning pool wasn't, you know, jiggling and wiggling, then he knows that there's no Zergling speed on the way. So he can actually just sit out here, regenerate the health on his Reapers, and just keep poking forever.
Yeah, like, 1 gets low, 2 get low, 2 need to get away. That 3rd one can't really do anything by itself, so he's going to sit back, regen, but those Queens are both less than half health. Yeah,
exactly. That's like that's where you can really make some magic happen, because viOLet's going straight into a lair. This is a really, really fast Mutalisk build, most likely. And if QXC recognizes, like I said, if QXC is aware, if he was paying attention to that spawning pool and he knows how weird viOLet likes to play, he doesn't have to send his Reapers home for a long time.
No, do you think viOLet's not respecting QXC enough right now in the, you know, with his aggression?
I don't think it's that big of a deal, mostly because QXC is going for a starport. Like, viOLet doesn't have much pressure on him. As we saw, that Reaper had to run all the way back around towards the corner side in order to come back in and check the backside. But he can also throw this Reaper away into the main, and this is really nice because he will be able to see that there's a lair on the way. Zergling speed is still on the way. He gets to see those lings that are still slow, and all the information is laid out in front of him. The rest of the extractors were also taken, which means most likely a Mutalisk-based build.
Yeah, he does get to see the timing also on speed. He does get to see that speed is on the way. And I think QXC has done a great job so far. He's pressuring the Queens. He's forcing out a few more lings. A couple get roasted there. He only lost 1 Reaper, so I'd say he's still in a pretty great place.
Yeah, there's a lot that he can do. But here's the thing. viOLet's lair is done. I'm waiting to see that Spire. There it is. And QXC, once again, we have the Armory, we have the Cloak, we have Banshees. He is going for a very similar push to the one that we saw at the very beginning of the series that honestly kind of fell on its face.
Yeah, there's already the static D for viOLet. He's got a Spine Crawler down. He's got Spore Crawlers. So really, the question is, what can QXC do without putting himself completely behind like he did in game number 1?
He's just going to YOLO those Hellions. And I mean, Zergling speed was not ready by the time that he went in there, but he's still not going to get too much damage done. And that's unfortunate because even though he sees the Spire, this doesn't really make him feel any better. It basically says, hey, you should just stop doing what you're doing right now because you're being build order countered.
Yeah, 2 drones, not worth what he just threw away. Even the Scout wasn't worth it.
He was already aware that it was 2-base meta by seeing 4 gas in a lair, or at least he should have been, so I don't think it's bought him too much. And now this is a pretty limp Hellbat push.
Yeah, absolutely. 3 Hellbats, a Spine Crawler, 2 Queens, and some Zerglings. Also not going to do anything.
I mean, the only nice thing is that the Reapers softened up the Queens earlier, so forcing the Queens to spend their energy on Transfuse. But I mean, it's like if the highlight of your early 2-base push is that you force a Transfuse, if that's all you got, like, and you're not happy.
No, we saw game number 1 that your highlight can be 4 Queen kills, and that's still not enough.
Yeah, it's like, well, and he's already done worse than that. Which obviously doesn't bode terribly well for him. Now the Mutalisks are on the way.
And the engineering bay is just now starting, so he's not going to have much defense.
No, he's going to have 1 Viking on the map. He's trying to crank out the Marines, but the problem is, in these scenarios, you also want to get the add-ons for those barracks so that you can start rolling with your production and your economy. And even that is still going to be really tricky to do. This Banshee's going to show up. Maybe he just tags it onto the 3rd base and forces a cancel. That'd be nice. But he's going to lose his Hellions, these Mutalisks, and at the same time, I believe he has a Spore Crawler in the main base against that, yep, he has a Spore Crawler in the main against the Banshee, and the Banshee's just gonna die.
Yeah, sacrificing himself, not really getting anything done. Could have possibly focused a drone or 2 down. The Mutalisks were distracted for a little bit, long enough, I guess, by QXC to get an engineering bay up.
I do like this 1 mine in the factory, you know, just the mine will guarantee 1 Muta kill if the Mutalisks fly in range of it, which is always nice. Big things to keep in mind, though. A lot of missile turrets were built here for QXC, so not as much invested into resource, or at least resource expenditures into bio, into production, into infrastructure, into expansions, or further upgrades. I will say, I mean, he has the 1-1 coming in, which is nice, but viOLet is still in an okay position.
Yeah, he's going to try to take out this add-on, just do a little bit of damage, try to be annoying with these mutas. Again, it keeps QXC on the back foot. It makes him try to be defensive, and he has to stick around. He doesn't want to lose anything. He's already committed several turrets, and he does have the Widow Mines out. So he's sitting on these 2 bases, trying to do whatever he can. While on the other side of the map, viOLet is up on 3 bases.
Yeah, this Banshee delayed a little bit of the mining on this 3rd base. The drones were pulled away. Didn't get too many kills, as QXC has only actually picked off 3 drones this whole entire game. viOLet can't be too upset about that.
No, not at all. Now viOLet moving again. He has a pretty sizable mutaflock, quite a few mutas floating around, preventing really any kind of map presence from QXC.
Yeah, viOLet does get his upgrades though, so he won't be in that position where, at least not anytime soon, where he's going to be way, way, way behind in upgrades. But now he wants to delay this 3rd base too, and he comes in. Oh, killing this missile turret would be really, really nice.
Yeah, and he is going to get cancels actually on it, so that's good for QXC. Doesn't want to give too much of these Marines. He didn't have the medevac support. Now he does, and he can move forward against these mutalisks.
Stunning pretty hard though.
Yeah.
He's got to be careful. Gotta be careful. Does grab that Overseer, which is always nice too.
Yeah, so QXC has +1 attack on the way, +1 armor, or +2 armor following up.
Yeah, and I think that's, you know, all of those are like the core structures that he needs to really keep moving, because he already had the armor from the start of the game. So QXC can keep his upgrades rolling very, very smoothly. Very important in Terran versus Zerg, as we've seen, especially on Cactus Valley, as viOLet gets ready to continue to put more harass on. I don't know if there's still any random mines tagged around, but, well, trades a Muta for a reactor.
No.
Reasonable.
Does viOLet have any banelings on the map?
Not many from the last time I checked. He has 13 on the way now. Yeah, those are the only 13 that he'll have. Very good thing to...
I think that QXC, once his upgrade's finished, will actually have a nice little window where he could push out on the map.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you usually want to do as Terran on 3 bases. Like, maybe he kills these rocks, decides to set up his 4th base here, and gets ready. Moves that medevac right by an Overlord, so the Mutalisks, if they're aware, might be able to run straight over and kill that.
Yeah, they're kind of distracted with this Banshee.
Yeah, actually, Banshee is doing a really good job of distracting him.
QXC making those Banshees last as long as possible, which has been pretty nice.
Yeah, he got really good use out of the Banshee on Cactus Valley as well, in terms of delaying the 4th base, and that has actually distracted him long enough for this medevac to swing around and possibly be useful. Yep, I just realized something.
Oh,
viOLet totally forgot Baneling speed.
And that is not a good thing, especially for QXC. Definitely a player that can handle slow Banelings with ease.
Yeah, I mean, slow Banelings they're really slow. Like, I'm actually kind of worried right now.
They trundle. They're so slow.
Yeah, exactly. They basically just kind of like wobble. I don't know. They're like very, very large penguins in that regard. Oh, he closed. He sequestered the expansion with the rocks. That's actually really. If he had blocked off more of the Marines. Oh, actually, he can run all of his Lings over here too, because he has to spend all this time killing the rocks. There's no Marines in the bunker.
Yep. Nope. He takes a medevac, tries to unload some, but that's not enough to deal with this force.
Oh my goodness, this is really frustrating for QXC because he was blocked off by the rocks in his own base. viOLet making great use of those rocks against him. All the SCVs were killed. He's going to lose his 3rd command center again.
Yep. Now there are those Widow Mines. They're going to get some pretty good hits on the Banelings. He does have quite a bit of supply as long as he doesn't let those Banelings just run into him.
And he's just started Baneling speed at last. Now the 3rd base is going to be hit with a counter attack here. That medevac taking a lot of heat from the Spore Crawler. As he boosts over towards the main, but I think viOLet has taken a dominating position in this game. QXC on 2 bases. Terran cannot win 2 base versus 3 base Zerg. It's just not, you don't have the income that you need to put out the number of Marines you need to overwhelm the Zerg player. This is going to be really easy for viOLet to build a ton of Banelings. The only weakness of viOLet's army right now is that he doesn't have Baneling speed.
Yeah, so QXC, if he gets some sick Widow Mine hits, that will be the engagement that he needs to take. They're relatively even on army supply. So yes, viOLet does have the economy, but if QXC can take the right engagement, I think he can go in and do some damage before viOLet can remax.
It's possible, but the biggest problem for QXC, you know, the 2-2 is really nice, I have to say. That's like that's really his saving grace, because he could try to take the sickest engagement ever, but he also needs the Widow Mines to be big, and first one, no dice. Oh my goodness. Those weren't the mine shots he needed.
Nope, that was a little bit of friendly fire. Those guys getting court-martialed for friendly fire, my friend.
Yeah, no, not a smart idea to blow your friends up.
Nope.
It's also just poor manners, really.
Yeah, really.
Now, Baneling speed is done, and we see him just throwing away a couple of Banelings into these Marines and still getting some solid detonations as he continues to bolster his forces. We have a 4-base Zerg versus a 2-base Terran. The 3rd is being rebuilt for QXC, but that still takes a long time to get.
Yeah, so the base dying entirely was huge. You know, you don't have those mules in the back end. And here we go. He's going to try to surround here. The Thor's there, but the Thor's almost dead. Some Widow Mine shots actually not doing a terrible job.
Yeah, I mean, viOLet's been really loving those Widow Mines in this series. He's really been giving away a lot of forces to them. As long as he still has a couple of Banelings left, then he can still always fall back on creep. But QXC is making the most of the upgrade advantage that he has. Once viOLet ties it up, that's when I start to worry a lot for QXC.
Yeah, one of the great things about QXC, though, he's a very tactical player. So as the game is moving on, QXC is saying, okay, I took an advantage there. Here's how I'm going to capitalize on. Oh, I'm losing. Oh, and he has his wall down, and all these links and all these mutants are going to come rolling in. Depots don't get to raise, and SCVs are going to fall by the dozen.
Okay, I think viOLet realized, he's like, I don't actually need to blow my Banelings up on those SCVs. And I think viOLet, he like let the 4th base die because he recognized that QXC's economy was so hurt, it wasn't that big of a deal. Now he's inside the production line of QXC, kills a bunch of SCVs. 35 have died in this attack. And QXC has to run his whole army back home to try and defend against this.
Yeah, QXC getting pushed back. Yeah, he took out a base, but viOLet's still on 3 bases. And QXC, what does he have?
Oh, well, 1 command center now. Oh, boy.
QXC kicking himself in the tail on the cusp of getting into WCS
Wow.
Premier. And
that Widowmine shot was epic, but I don't think that's going to be enough to save QXC here as viOLet continues to just knock on these command centers.
Yep, more workers going down. We're at 43, and I don't think that's going to be the last worker to fall. The Marines are getting pulled apart, and the Mutalisks are just doing what Mutalisks do, and that is distracting.
Oh my goodness, QXC never pulled his SCVs to repair it. QXC has no command centers left. He's going to be revealed within, what, 30 seconds? Oh, boy.
I don't think he can do anything with this. Yeah, QXC does have 83 army supplies, so he's going for the base trade.
That's all he can do. He's stuck, though, because all his buildings are going to be revealed. He doesn't have enough money to build a command center.
Yeah, QXC now being revealed. He is on the map, trying to take out this mining base, doing as much damage as he can, but what do you say about QXC in this position? He has got his army on the other side of the base. He's pulled all SCVs. I think SCVs, you know, spread him against the Banelings. That's the best he can hope for, I guess.
He's going to use his last couple pennies to build 2 Marines. I'm surprised he didn't float any production structures over with this army, but he's going to clean up a good number of these Banelings.
Yeah. So, I mean, QXC not out of it yet. He still does have a nice army. A lot more Banelings are morphing in.
If you're viOLet, just keep building Banelings. Like, you don't need to trade super cost effectively. You have an economy. As long as you have something. Although, actually, you know, now that I think about it, he does have that base on the left side now, the center position, but the base on the right, his natural is no longer mining. He needs to get drones over there.
Yeah.
I think there's rocks, though, blocking it. Yeah, that's kind of weird.
He is doing a great job, though. He has the Thor that's down there. So one thing that's going to happen is, yeah, QXC is taking out that base. He's taking out a lot of these different structures. Should go for that Baneling nest, so no more of those can come in.
This game has gotten really weird, really fast. I don't quite know what to say. He doesn't have income, but he has a lot of Banelings and Zerlings. He just needs to break down these rocks so that he can get minerals, and then he can turn more of his Lings into Banes. But he might lose his spawning pool by the time that happens, so maybe no more Lings or Banelings.
Yeah, QXC's biggest hope. Now, here we go. Some of the structures are getting caught out by Mutalisks. I think viOLet is saying to himself, okay, I'm sending my mobile force, my Lings, my Mutalisks, they're going to go back.
He has a lot of drones that are burrowed here by where this natural expansion was. QXC can't scan. I think this is actually a scenario. If he has burrow, he should actually just use burrow Banelings on all the ramps.
Yeah.
I can't think of a reason not to. It's not possible for QXC to see any more burrowed units. There we go.
There we go. Oh, no. Here we go.
There's nothing that QXC can do about this except, like, splitting his units like, I don't know, like he's crossing the Red Sea or something like that.
And here comes Sploosh! And all the Banelings take out the Marines. That is a lot of Marines. I mean, the best QXC can hope for is that a lot more Banelings go down on big things like Thors and whatnot, and that the Marines can take time shredding apart the Mutalisks. But still.
No, you know, now that if viOLet has burrow, I didn't even realize that. With burrow, that should be all viOLet needs. He could just dance around forever. He'll never kill. He should never be able to kill another drone
Now, this is an extremely frustrating position for QXC to be in. The drones can hide. There's 499 minerals in the bank.
And he has drones at his natural. He could unburrow one of those drones at his old natural expansion and just move them to like the bottom right spot of the map.
Another explosion. QXC's army just dropping. And here we go. There's the rest. This is going to be the end of the game. QXC's smart, though. And he split beforehand.
He's lost so many of his forces. The issue is that soon enough, those Zerlings will be useful, and he just keeps running into Banelings. More Marines die. And come up this ramp, take more hits. He's got enough Banelings to do this all day, really.
QXC playing Minesweeper with the Baneling mines, and it's just not a game that he can win.
You know, there's a difference between running a metal detector over a coin in the sand and, you know, using your body as a mine detector.
Yeah, one dissolves in acid, the other gives you a penny, right?
Something like that. viOLet's going to overwhelm this army. GG. viOLet is going to Premier League for Season 3 after a interesting finish, to say the least.
Yeah, that was pretty... not what I expected at all. QXC losing his command centers. Had he repaired that one command center, I think he would have been in a much better position.
Because he was waiting for his Marines to come over, but I think viOLet noticed. viOLet's like, oh, he's not repairing. Well, I can trade 1 or 2 mutas for this command center. It's like, he doesn't have any bases left. And then QXC actually had no money, so there was nothing he could do.
Yeah, it was
pretty sick.
What a series. So viOLet takes it 3-1. GG to QXC.
Yeah, the one game viOLet lost was probably one of the weirdest ends to a Zerg versus Terran that I've ever seen, but that game was something else. So we are just about done with the challenger matches for North America here in the World Championship Series. We have one more best of 5 to bring you. It will be 2 Americans, Xenocider, loudmouth, outspoken punk from Evil Geniuses, playing against Hitman. If you guys don't know who Hitman is, don't worry. Almost no one else does either. He is mostly known for being aggressive on one base on ladder, and he has given out almost no details of himself. No one knows anything at all about Hitman.
The Hitman?
I don't know any pro that's told me that they actually even know anything about him.
Maybe he is a pro. Maybe it's Flash's Smurf account, Protoss Smurf.
Oh, yeah, but then Flash's Smurf account would have to have an American visa. Well, that's going to be our next series. That'll be the last series of the day. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in so far. We'll be back after this short break with the last match here of the day.